Let me ask you something. If the grid went down tonight, how long would you last? 3 days, a week, maybe a month if you've been smart about stockpiling? Now here's the harder question. How long would those supplies actually stay yours? I'm Alex, and I've spent the last decade studying crisis patterns across 4 continents. What I'm about to share isn't speculation. It's documented reality from Venezuela, Argentina, Greece, Lebanon, and yes, even from disasters right here in the United States. Most people think preparedness ends when they fill their pantry. They couldn't be more wrong. The real challenge begins when everyone else realizes they should have prepared too. And by then, they're not looking at empty store shelves, they're looking at you. During the 2021 Texas freeze, something remarkable happened that went largely unreported. Within 48 hours, people weren't just asking neighbors for help. They were noting who had generators humming, whose pipes weren't frozen, who seemed just a little too comfortable. That's the world we live in now, a world where preparation creates visibility, and visibility creates vulnerability. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 categories of supplies that vanish first during societal breakdown. But more critically, I'm revealing why they disappear and what you can do about it before it's too late. This isn't about hoarding. It's about strategic preservation of what you've worked hard to secure. Before we dive deep, let me be crystal clear about something. The patterns I'm discussing have repeated throughout modern history with disturbing consistency. From Hurricane Katrina to the Argentine economic implosion, from the Greek debt crisis to the ongoing collapse in Lebanon. The timeline shifts, but the script remains identical. Understanding this script gives you the only real advantage you can have, the ability to see what's coming before everyone else does. Let's start with what becomes the most visible target in any crisis, your ability to generate independent power. Think about the last major storm in your area. Now think about who ran generators. Their houses were the only ones with lights after dark. Everyone noticed, everyone remembered. Here's what most people don't realize about power generation equipment. It's not just valuable because it provides electricity. It's valuable because it broadcasts a message. This person has resources. This person planned ahead. This person has other things worth investigating. During the 2012 Hurricane Sandy aftermath, generator theft became so rampant that hardware stores sold out of chains and locks within hours. Thieves were following generator sounds, mapping which houses had power, then returning when conditions were favorable. But it gets darker. In Puerto Rico, after Maria, generator owners weren't just robbed. The generator itself might be worth $800, but attackers assumed anyone who could afford a generator before the storm must have other valuables stashed away. The government angle is equally concerning, though less discussed. Emergency management protocols in most states include provisions for temporary requisitioning of private equipment during declared emergencies. The key word everyone focuses on is temporary. The key word you should focus on is requisitioning. During California's wildfire season, several counties implemented informal generator sharing programs. Sounds neighborly, right? Except participation wasn't always voluntary. Code enforcement officers were documenting which properties had generators for potential reallocation to critical facilities. So how do you maintain power independence without painting a target on your roof? First, understand that modern power generation has evolved beyond the gas-guzzling, earthquake-loud generators your father used. Inverter generators run whisper quiet. Modern solar installations can be ground-mounted and camouflaged. Battery banks operate in complete silence. But technology alone won't protect you. You need a layered approach. Keep a visible older generator that you run sparingly and strategically. Your real power system, the quiet efficiency setup, operates on a schedule that minimizes detection. While everyone obsesses over food, water presents a more immediate and complex challenge. The human body fails without water in 3 days. Food, you've got 3 weeks, maybe longer if you're adequately hydrated. The Greek debt crisis taught us something fascinating about water scarcity. When municipal systems became unreliable, bottled water prices didn't just increase, they became completely detached from normal economics. A case that cost $3 was trading for $40 within days. But here's the twist. People who publicly displayed large water stockpiles became targets not just for theft, but for extortion. Organized groups would identify homes with visible water storage, then create situations where the homeowner had to choose between sharing at gunpoint or escalating to violence. Most chose to share. During the Flint water crisis, residents with water filtration systems found themselves in an uncomfortable position. Help your neighbors and deplete your own safety margin, or refuse and become the villain on a street where everyone's suffering. The protection strategy for water differs fundamentally from other supplies. Water is heavy, bulky, and requires volume to be meaningful. You can't hide 200 gallons the way you might conceal ammunition. More importantly, invest heavily in purification capability. A quality filter system that can process thousands of gallons is worth exponentially more than stored water alone. But here's the critical part. Keep your purification equipment completely hidden. If someone knows you can make water safe, you become the community water source, whether you want that role or not. Consider this scenario. Your neighborhood well is contaminated. You have filtration. Do you filter water for everyone and become a magnet for dependency and potential violence? Or do you filter only for your family and become the selfish villain? The only winning move is ensuring nobody knows you have that capability in the first place. Every economic collapse in history creates an immediate problem. Official currency loses value or becomes inaccessible. Paper money becomes nearly worthless. Banks freeze accounts or limit withdrawals, and society shifts to alternative exchange systems practically overnight. The items that become currency in these situations are both predictable and specific. But here's what catches most people off guard. The timeline is compressed beyond what anyone expects. In Venezuela, the bolivar lost 99% of its value in less than 2 years. People who had savings denominated in local currency watched their life's work evaporate. Those who converted wealth into stable stores of value survived. Those who held on to cash out of normalcy bias were destroyed. The items that hold value share specific characteristics. They must be universally desired, difficult to counterfeit, durable, portable, and divisible. Precious metals check all these boxes, which is why gold and silver appear in every single collapse scenario throughout history. In a true barter economy, you need denominations. Imagine trying to buy bread with a 1-ounce gold coin worth $2,000. You're either not getting change or you're exposing that you have more coins at home. The experienced approach is fractional silver. Pre-1965 dimes, quarters, and half dollars. They're recognizable, divisible, and appropriate for everyday transactions. A silver dime might buy a meal. A half dollar could secure medication. In Argentina, cigarettes became a secondary currency even among non-smokers. In Greece, coffee achieved almost mystical exchange value. During Soviet collapse, vodka was more stable than the ruble. The pattern reveals itself. Items that provide comfort, relief, or small luxuries in terrible situations become extremely valuable. People will trade food for cigarettes, they'll trade tools for alcohol, they'll trade almost anything for coffee when they haven't had it in weeks. But having some coffee, some cigarettes, some alcohol mixed in with normal household goods, that's just a regular pantry. Store barter items separately from your primary supplies. If you must trade, you're trading from a dispensable location that reveals nothing about your main preparations. Never trade from your primary residence if avoidable. Meet in neutral locations, vary your meeting spots, and never establish patterns. Here's something most people completely miss about barter economics. Information has value too. Knowing which items will become valuable lets you acquire them cheaply before crisis hits. Right now, you can buy cigarettes at normal prices. When supply chains break, those same cigarettes might trade for their weight in food. The same principle applies to medications, alcohol, batteries, lighters, and dozens of other items. They're cheap and available now. They'll be precious and unavailable later. During the Balkan conflicts of the 1990s, doctors, engineers, and mechanics found themselves in extraordinarily dangerous positions. Their expertise made them valuable, which made them targets. Some were forced to work at gunpoint. Others were held captive by armed groups who needed their skills. Several were killed by rival factions who didn't want the other side to have access to their knowledge. This pattern repeats across every major societal breakdown. In Somalia, educated professionals were specifically targeted. In Venezuela, doctors fled the country not because of economic hardship alone, but because they were being kidnapped for ransom or forced into service. The challenge with skills is they often reveal themselves inadvertently. You help a neighbor once, word spreads, and suddenly you're the known expert. In normal times, community reputation is valuable. During crisis, it's a liability. Here's the framework I recommend. Practice strategic incompetence in public while maintaining actual competence in private. If someone asks if you know medicine, "I took a first aid course once, but I don't remember much," is safer than "I'm a trained EMT." If they ask about electrical work, "I'm dangerous with that stuff. I better call a professional," protects you more than demonstrating expertise. This isn't about refusing to help. It's about controlling when, how, and under what conditions your skills become known. Because once that knowledge is out, you can't reclaim it. The corollary is building your skills now while you can learn quietly. Take courses, read manuals, practice techniques, become genuinely capable across multiple domains, but keep that capability private. Don't post certificates on social media. Don't advertise your expertise. Be the person everyone underestimates. The final category is perhaps the most overlooked: your ability to gather, process, and act on information that others don't have. In a crisis, accurate information becomes scarcer and more valuable than almost any physical commodity. Knowing which roads are blocked, where supplies remain available, which areas are dangerous, what the authorities are planning, this intelligence creates massive survival advantages. But information access also exposes you. During Hurricane Katrina, ham radio operators who were helping coordinate rescue efforts found themselves interrogated about their equipment and communication capabilities. Some had equipment confiscated under emergency powers. Others were recruited voluntarily or otherwise into official communication networks. The same pattern emerged in Puerto Rico after Maria. People with satellite phones or communication equipment became valuable assets that various groups wanted to control. Your information resources include radio equipment, but also maps, guidebooks, technical manuals, and increasingly digital information storage. Each represents a potential vulnerability. That amateur radio setup in your garage, it broadcasts your capability to anyone paying attention. Those detailed topographic maps on your wall, they suggest you're planning to move or navigate during crisis. That extensive library of survival manuals, it marks you as someone who prepared, which means someone worth investigating. The protection strategy is compartmentalization and encryption. Digital information can be heavily encrypted and stored on devices that are easily hidden or even carried on your person. A micro SD card smaller than your thumbnail can hold gigabytes of crucial manuals, maps, and references. Physical books and maps are harder to conceal, but equally important. Power grids fail. Store critical physical references in multiple hidden locations, waterproofed and sealed. But the most critical information resource is your network. The people you can communicate with reliably, who share information you trust, who will tell you what's really happening versus the official narrative. This network needs to be established now, cultivated carefully, and kept absolutely private. In crisis preparedness, being the gray man means appearing exactly average. Not obviously prepared, but not obviously unprepared either. You're the neighbor nobody thinks about twice, the person who seems to be struggling along with everyone else. This requires conscious effort starting right now. Stop talking about preparedness. Delete prepper-related posts from social media. Remove bumper stickers, flags, or signs that advertise your mindset. Appear normal, conventional, and perhaps even slightly unprepared. When crisis hits, maintain that appearance. Don't be the house with lights on when everyone else is dark. Don't be obviously well-fed when others are hungry. Don't display confidence when everyone else shows concern. This seems counterintuitive. You prepared specifically so you wouldn't have to suffer like the unprepared. Why hide it? Because displaying your preparation makes you a target for everyone from desperate neighbors to organized criminals to government requisition orders. The goal isn't to refuse help or be heartless. It's to maintain operational security so you can help on your terms from a position of strength without exposing your entire preparation strategy. Think of it like being wealthy. The truly wealthy often drive modest cars and live in normal houses. They don't advertise their resources because advertising attracts problems. The same principle applies to preparedness. The best prepared people seem totally unprepared right up until they're not. This extends to your property as well. An immaculate, well-maintained home suggests resources. A slightly shabby exterior suggests struggle. Make your home look lower value than it actually is. Defer visible maintenance. Let the lawn get a bit scraggly. Make your property unattractive to potential threats. Now let's talk about actual implementation, because protecting these 5 categories means building a system that starts today, not someday. The first step is conducting an honest security audit. Walk around your property as if you were the threat. What draws attention? A generator shed sitting in plain view, water barrels stacked neatly by the wall, a radio antenna that looks more technical than the neighbors, even a garden that produces too well can raise questions. Every visible signal creates vulnerability. Your job is either to eliminate the signal, hide it, or craft a believable cover story. Your generator? I use it for tailgating. Next, implement layered redundancy. Never store all of any supply category in one place. Spread your resources across multiple caches, different locations, different hiding methods, different levels of accessibility. Think of it like an onion. The outer layer holds decoy supplies, items that look useful but aren't critical. If someone finds this layer, they typically stop searching. The next layer contains the supplies you actively use, and at the deepest level are your emergency reserves, hidden well enough that only someone extremely determined could discover them. The third piece is building plausible deniability into everything you own. If someone questions your extra canned food, you shrug and say, I shop sales and hate grocery trips. Water filtration system? City water tastes awful. First aid training? Work required it for a promotion. The key is having explanations that are boring, ordinary, and believable. Then, start building relationships. Carefully. You're not looking for loud preppers or people obsessed with collapse fantasies. You want reliable, quietly capable individuals with skills that complement your own. The best crisis network consists of people who seem average from the outside, whose politics aren't loud or extreme, but who you've quietly noticed making small, sensible preparations. These people instinctively understand operational security. Most preparedness content ignores the most dangerous period, the transition from normal to crisis. This is where people fail. If you act too early, you seem paranoid. Too late, and you expose everything you've built. The solution is simple. You begin now with quiet measures, and you escalate based on clear trigger points. These triggers might include multi-week supply chain disruptions, currency instability, widespread civil unrest, or natural disasters overwhelming local response systems. When triggers hit, you shift your posture. You reduce visibility. You limit information. You move supplies from convenient locations to secure ones. You activate communication protocols with your trusted network. This allows your preparedness to scale with reality rather than panic. Finally, the hardest part? The psychological shift. Most people are conditioned to be open, helpful, and trusting. Crisis demands the opposite: secrecy, selective sharing, deliberate misdirection. People fail because they can't make that shift when it counts. Just as important is managing guilt. You will feel guilty saying no. You will question your boundaries. That's normal, but protecting your family isn't selfish. It's responsible. Maintaining security isn't paranoia. It's strategy. Survival ultimately belongs to those who stay disciplined, stick to their plan, and make hard choices when emotions run high.